WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM's Master of Business Administration is designed to accommodate the career needs of professionals across a variety of work organizations. More information at business.udmercy.edu.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. Today on the program, Detroit City Council approved a Tenants' Rights Commission. We'll talk about what might become of the commission and what it could mean for renters in the city.
But first on the Metro. While Detroit will be the center of techno music this weekend, music fans looking for a bite to eat will also be in for a treat. That's because the new Argentinian restaurant PUMA Detroit will open its doors for the first time this Friday. PUMA is the second restaurant launched in the city by chef Javier Bardauil, whose first restaurant, Barda, was a James Beard Awards finalist for Best New Restaurant in America in 2022. To learn more about the new restaurant, its inspiration, and what patrons should expect this weekend, the man behind the menu joins us now. Chef Javier, welcome to the Metro.
Thank you, guys. And really nice to be here.
It's nice to have you because I'm always interested in these new flavors, what they mean for us, how we can experience them. But before we get into that, the new restaurant, many who are familiar with you are going to think about Barda, which you launched in 2021. But your love of cooking started at a young age. So can you just tell us a little bit of your background and how you got into cooking in the first place?
Well, I've been cooking for my entire life already. I've been cooking for 30 years. It's all I know. I don't know what else to do if I have to. I started cooking because I like to host. I'm an entertainer. That's what I'm deeply enjoy. So I found out that cooking, food, and drinks are basic for that. I mean, if you wanna.
You want to make
if you want to entertain people, you need to bring nice food and drinks to the table. And that's how I started cooking, pretty much.
Yeah. So what are some of your earliest food memories while you were growing up that just stick to you? Maybe any taste, flavors, experiences that you enjoy?
Asado.
Yeah.
Asado means the grill every Sunday with gathering the family around the fire, my father cooking. That's how I learned to start a fire with my father. So those are memories that, and this, I have for me forever.
This goes back to Argentina, but at some point in time, you made it over here to Detroit. So how did you end up Detroit, and why did you decide to make this city your home?
Well, my wife is she's in the flipping business.
Houses?
Houses, yeah. And investments. So we started hearing about Detroit and how the city was growing, and we got curious and we came here to see what was how we were able to expand our business. And I found out that the restaurant business here was blooming. It was so hard for me. I came for a week the first time I came here.
Yeah, when was that? What year? Or how many years ago?
No, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, okay.
So I came here, and it was so hard for me to find a spot in a restaurant without having a reservation. So we talked about this with my wife once we were back in Argentina, and we figured a way to wrap it up there and come here. We spent a year. Doing all that stuff, and then we came. With the entire family. My kids love it too. That's why
which is kind of a big deal. I mean, you talk about entertaining and things like that. You even had a TV show for a brief period of time, right? Cine and Cina?
Cine and Cine, yes.
Cine and Cine, with movies and food, right? But
that was amazing too. It was a part of my life for a second. I really enjoyed that. And we were broadcasting for the entire South America, so it was very successful TV show.
Yeah. So now when you go to one of the restaurants here with Chef Javier, who we're speaking to, you can remember you're not only getting some good food, you're talking to a bona fide celebrity, at least in South America. Glad that you're joining us right now. You're opening up PUMA, as we mentioned. Soft launch is on Friday. How is PUMA going to be different than Barda?
Well, first of all, both restaurants are in the same area in Core City. I love that area, and I think keep betting for that area is something that I really like. Barda is more, even when both restaurants are meant to deliver an experience, Barda is more formal in the way of service, or the menu itself is more creative. It's more my chef side of what I have to say, right?
Yeah.
PUMA is more street food, more chaotic, more vibrant in that sense, with live music, more noisy probably, more younger crowd oriented.
Sure. Which makes sense that you're having this event that's going to be coming up again on Friday. Will be the soft launch over the weekend. A host of DJs will be spinning, including Sheefy McFly, Bebe, DJ Sluggo, Rebecca Goldberg, Minnie Morgan, Friday, May 25th through Sunday, May 27th. But let's get into what it means to have Argentinian food, right? A lot of folks might be familiar with South American, Mexican food. What's Argentinian food?
Well, we are different from the rest of South America because we had a massive immigration from Europe 100 years ago. So what we did with our food was just we started this transformation, and we took dishes from Spanish culture, from Italian culture, and we made our own thing with all those cultures that we suddenly we've been immersed in our country. So that's why I think we are Argentina is quite different from the rest. And then we have an amazing land, so we are able to raise amazing cows. So steak is for the fall, where we eat every day.
Yeah.
I think about you talking about the barbecues, and the steak on the Sunday would probably be just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But you were talking just a little bit about the migration from Europe. You have the food coming in from Spain and Italy and other countries there. If you could, what's closely related to paella?
For us, paella is arroz.
Okay.
So we call it arroz, and we put on top of that arroz or paella, whatever we have. So it's arroz with something, rice with something.
Yeah.
But we cook paella a lot.
Yeah.
And even with the paella itself, because paella is meant to be cooked over fire, and fire is what we have every time that we want to cook. We turn on the fire. It's very normal for us to start a fire and cook something for friends or family. It's very normal. So for me, bringing the fire to the city, PUMA will be, again, we're going to be cooking over fire. And that's my statement, I guess, already. We cook over fire. We are not using gas.
We're speaking with Chef Javier Bardauil here on 101.9 WDET. His new restaurant, PUMA's, opening on Friday. You mentioned fire, Chef. I know that's a very important theme in both of your restaurants. I can hear it right now. What's the difference, though, for someone who might not be familiar? How does fire change the way that you cook versus a grill? I got to believe, by the way, that it's harder and probably maybe more expensive for you or more difficult to do all of this cooking with fire. But why is that important? How does it change the taste?
Well, first of all, PUMA, we have this opening at PUMA this weekend, and I don't like to call it soft. It's gonna be hard.
All right.
So it's like a hard opening on this weekend, and we're gonna cook over fire, same as Barda, because I think that the fire is bringing another layer of flavor, other than the passion you can show through the dish, because with those little spot of burning and char and smoke from the wood, you are bringing different layers of emotion and flavors, and how the food smells, and all those things together I think is the most important thing that that I like to bring every time.
And we've been talking a lot about Puma, but we haven't been talking about cougar.
Oh yeah, Puma by day, cougar by night.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the
That's the
difference
joke.
between Puma and cougar?
Well, that's a joke.
Okay,
yeah,
it's going to be the same place.
It's
but-
exactly the same, but
Okay.
I like the idea of turn the Puma sign down and turn it on. I made this beautiful red neon saying cougar in front of the door. So
Yeah.
I like the idea. It's a joke, and I like to laugh about it.
It's a good joke, but why Puma, right? The animal, we're familiar with that. Why was that the name of this restaurant?
Puma is coming from South America, like a choripan. Choripan is a staple food in Argentina, and we're going to be serving choripan at Puma. And it's like an analogy between the choripan who came up to here with me and the Puma who came up to here alone. And it happens that it's a second species in South America. In America, after the humans, Puma are the biggest population here. So and these Pumas, all of them came from south, from Argentina. So it's an analogy for me. It's the same way I brought the choripan, like the Puma came up to here. Yeah.
Are there any signature dishes that people should be on the lookout for, or you say when you come into Puma, you should try to check this out, especially if this is your first
Yes,
experience?
choripan. You should try the choripan and ceviche. We have we built a ceviche station inside the building next to the kitchen. So it's like another area, like a oyster bar, let's say. And we're gonna have ceviche there and soups during winter. It's a very fun place to walk in. We have a beautiful bar in a corner, and then two more options. One next to the grill, and the other one is this place, like cevicheria, in another corner of the building. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Why open the restaurant during such a large music festival like Movement? I mean, is that adding any complications? Well, this was intentional,
yes, for
I have
sure.
to believe. So why was it important to you to do that?
Thank God this is radio, because I'm a mess. You can see me. Well, one of the things that brings entertainment, in my point of view, is music. It's one of the pillars for me. And Puma will be very, very musical oriented. We're going to have DJ programs live every weekend, and that's why I thought, if I'm not open for Movement, when? I mean, it was the right timing for me to show what Puma have to bring to the city.
Yeah, and Detroit has been very important for you. You can tell in interviews, and also just how you talk about the city, how important it is to you. How does Detroit, I mean, you've brought Argentina to Detroit somewhat. How does Detroit inform what you do with your restaurants, and especially Puma?
Detroit embraced me, my ideas, and who I am in a second. I'm so glad that I came. I'm so glad to be here. I love Detroit. I love people from Detroit. And I think my family's blend already very well with this city. And the only thing I want is keep growing in this city and keep bringing ideas and new things to the city, because I love it.
Well, I know you got a lot of stuff coming up this weekend. I can't take too much of your time. Before we let you out of here, though, anything you're most excited for? What do you want people to know about the launch befro we let you go?
Well, we're going to rock it this weekend. We have amazing names coming in, a lot of DJs. Ronnie Amitai is coming from far away to play with us. Scott Groove's going to be part of it. Shiffy McFly is going to release his record during this week, and he's going to do it at Puma. So I'm very honored about that. Very happy about Shiffy McFly. For me, he's an icon. Yeah. He's an amazing artist. Julian D'Angelo is coming also. So we got an amazing DJs coming in. It's going to be a beautiful party.
All right, well, we're going to let you back after it. Chef Javier Bardauil, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me here. It's a pleasure.
PUMA Detroit will be opening its doors for the first time this weekend from Friday, May 25th through Sunday, May 27th. As you heard, the restaurant will host DJs. You can find out more information on their Instagram page at PUMA_Detroit.
I was thinking about being hungry right now because that sounds absolutely fantastic and amazing. I want some ceviche. Coming up next, we have Detroit City Council. They approved a tenant rights commission, and we'll talk about what might become of the commission and what it could mean for renters in the city. You all stay right there for the Metro.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. I'm Nick Austin.
And I'm Tia Graham. Detroit has long been known as a city of homeowners. But since the Great Recession, the number of homeowners has plummeted. In Detroit, the majority of residents are now renters. And those people are often paying a lot on housing. It's estimated that half of Detroiters are paying 35% or more of their income on rent. That's according to Bridge Detroit reporting. But where's their representation? Earlier this month, the Detroit City Council approved the creation of Tenants' Rights Commission to strengthen the support for renters. To talk now about why the City Council decided to facilitate a Tenants' Rights Commission and what its future could look like, we have Nushrat Rahman here. She covers economic mobility in Detroit for the Detroit Free Press and Bridge Detroit as a Report for America Corps member. Nushrat, welcome to the Metro.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so where did the idea of a Tenants' Rights Commission come from in the first place?
Yeah, so renters in Detroit have long raised concerns about poor living conditions and evictions, and they've been pushing for accountability from their landlords. It seems like it's been a long time coming, and I think the pandemic really elevated some of the issues that we're seeing, right? There were broad concerns about rising evictions. People were really raising the alarm about the substandard living conditions that they were dealing with. And so this has been a long time coming, but it really is a way for renters and advocates and even landlords to have a say on policy improvements for renters living in the city.
Councilmember Mary Waters, she's been pushing for this commission. Do you know why that's the case?
During the council meeting where this ordinance was approved, she said that the goal of this body is to foster a more equitable and secure rental landscape for all Detroit residents. You know, her staff has been pretty vocal about pushing for the rights of renters in the city, particularly seniors. Earlier this year, her staff and Council President Mary Sheffield spoke out about the conditions that seniors were living in, right? And so a lot of folks spoke about vermin in their apartments, mold infestation, inadequate security measures. So she's been one of the council members that has been vocal about the concerns that renters across the city have been dealing with.
And who might make up the commission? I'm hearing what you're saying. What kind of individuals does the city council actually want to see on this commission?
So the ordinance right now, the language says that it's going to be a 9-member body, and their job will be to develop policy recommendations to reduce evictions, enforce landlord compliance, and help city departments educate landlords and tenants. And so, you know, if we look through the language of this ordinance right now, it would include at least 4 renters living in the city and a resident who owns no more than 10 properties that are up to city code. And they would be able to serve a 2-year term. They would meet monthly, and there are going to be some non-voting members as well, right? And that could include advocates. The idea is to include various perspectives, various renter perspectives, right? So seniors, students, and people with disabilities.
And there are several tenants' rights activists, advocates in Detroit right now. So why does this benefit them?
So really what we see in the language of this ordinance is that, you know, this would be a way for tenants. The body essentially can receive complaints from tenants and refer any city code violations to the relevant city departments, right? It can ask tenants and landlords to voluntarily mediate disputes. We did a story back, a couple of months ago about a landlord that had properties that were not up to code. And the residents and advocates went to city council, asked city council members to do something about it. And it took several months to kind of get to the bottom of what was going on here, right? It took a lot of, on the groundwork for these advocates to get some answers. This is, meant to be a more centralized and efficient way for people to raise their concerns and have people at the table to air some of the concerns that people have.
So we're talking about the commission, of course. When will it get off the ground? How will people know how to apply?
Yeah, so Councilmember Mary Waters' office submitted a memo actually this week recommending the application process and how it should work. So the idea is to have the application be public by June 17 and to have the application period closed August 16. So that's her office's recommendation. So it's unclear when this is going to start happening, but it looks like it could happen as soon as the summer.
And, you've covered homelessness in Southeast Michigan. What is the connection, if any, between tenants' rights and homelessness right now? If tenants were being better protected, would it be feasible to see the lower number of people who are homeless right now?
Yeah, so at the heart of the issue of homelessness is housing, right? One of the main reasons that experts say people fall into homelessness is a lack of affordable housing. One of the things that tenants' rights advocates regularly talk about is the availability of affordable and safe homes for people, right? So we can draw a clear line between the availability of safe and affordable homes to the issue of homelessness, right? And so the body, these advocates, these folks at this table, their whole job will be to kind of develop policy recommendations to reduce things that can lead to homelessness, right? Like evictions, like unsafe housing conditions. And so that's kind of, the idea is to have more voices who can talk about the need for safe and stable homes for Detroiters.
Nushrat Rahman covers issues and obstacles that influence economic mobility, primarily in the city of Detroit, for the Detroit Free Press and Bridge Detroit as a core member with Report for America. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. That's Tia Graham. I'm Nick Austin. And coming up, we'll talk about why home sales are falling and home prices are rising.
This is the Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham.
And I'm Nick Austin. And home sales fell last month, even as the price of homes climbed to a record high in April. The bottom line, there are a lot more home buyers than there are homes for sales, causing prices to rise. Not enough homes for sale, if we should say. NPR's A. Martinez spoke with Scott Horsley to explain in more detail what's going on.
There's a real shortage of existing homes for sale these days. So the limited number of homes that are on the market, they're like the last donut in the office break room. Christine Richardson's a realtor in Northern Virginia. She says 80% of the houses she sold this year had multiple offers, including one that had 18 people bidding on it.
18 buyers loved that house and took the time to sit down and put together their best offer, and they were all fabulous offers. And only one out of those 18 got to buy a house at the end of it. I just feel so bad. And I have to be the one that makes the 17 phone calls to say, I'm so sorry, but your client didn't get the house.
That lopsided market is producing a windfall for sellers. The average home sold last month for just over $407,000. But Richardson also works with a lot of buyers, and so she says she'd much prefer to see a market that's more balanced between buyers and sellers.
Right, so what's throwing the market out of balance?
7% mortgages. That's not only kept a lot of buyers on the sidelines, it's also discouraged a lot of sellers who don't want to give up the cheaper home loans they have now. Now, it is possible we'll see somewhat lower interest rates later this year, but it's starting to dawn on people that we're probably not going back to 3 or 4% mortgages anytime soon. So when a new baby comes along or a new job gets offered, some people are biting the bullet and making a move. The number of homes on the market is starting to inch up. There's 16% more homes for sale now than there were a year ago at this time. And we're also seeing a modest comeback in first-time buyers. 1 out of 3 homes sold last month went to a first-time buyer. That's the largest share in more than 3 years. Now, of course, it can be a struggle for first-timers to come up with a down payment and meet these high monthly payments. But Milwaukee realtor Tom McCormick says in some ways first-timers have an advantage in a market like this.
They don't know any different. All they know is what they hear in the media and what we tell them, which is you've got to be ready to be hyper-competitive. And they go, okay, well, if that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Whereas that second-time buyer or third-time buyer, they're like, what are you, seriously? No, it wasn't like this last time. And they just kind of shake their head and go, wow.
I'm shaking my head as we speak, Scott. Any advice for someone trying to buy a house in a market like this?
Yeah, if you're tripping over other people at the open house, chances are you're going to have competition. So don't think you can make a lowball offer and then sweeten it later. You've got to come out of the gate with your best offer. And realtor Jack Gahn of Nashville says you have to be ready to move fast.
That's important that you have all your financial documents and you've talked to a lender and had that all straightened out, because the people who are able to move quickly are the ones who end up succeeding. It's, the people that drag their feet or aren't prepared to make an offer or maybe get cold feet after they already make that initial offer. That's the ones that get burnt in the end.
That was NPR's A. Martinez speaking with Scott Horsley. This is The Metro.
This is The Metro on 101.9 WDET FM. You heard from Nick Austin. I'm Tia Graham. The forecast today, highs in the 80s and sunny skies all day. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 80 degrees. Saturday, thunderstorms expected in the morning. Then it'll clear up, partly cloudy with a high around 83. Sunday, partly cloudy. A chance of rain in the afternoon with a high near 77. So if you plan on shuffling at all this weekend, indoor or outdoors, be prepared for a little rain. Be prepared for great weather, though, but be prepared for a little rain out there. Nick, I don't know if you're going to be outdoors, but I'm going to be outdoors, and I'm probably going to get rained on.
Movement's going to be outdoors. That means I'm going to be outdoors.
Okay.
And that's okay, because you see people out there with their umbrellas and such. Little rain never stop people who love electronic music.
No.
And if you do love electronic music, you've been hearing it on our airwaves all week. In fact, Stacey Hot Wax Hale is going to be on with Ryan Patrick Hooper and In the Groove today. Kevin Saunderson tomorrow, but the official movement opening party is also going down tomorrow, Friday, May 24th at Spotlight.
Yeah.
Starts at 8 p.m. featuring performances by Natasha Diggs, Chicago house music pillar Derek Carter, queer icon Gay Marvin, and Detroit favorite Remarkable. Those tickets are $55 and the event is 21 plus. So got all kinds of things for you to be doing to enjoy your techno music this weekend, which again, T, I can tell from you just right now vibing out. You're ready.
Oh, I'm more than ready. I went last night to see God said Give 'em Drum Machines, the screening that they had at Marble Bar. It was in conjunction with WDET, and it just put me right in the mode, right in the mindset. I was like, I'm ready to shuffle across the city of Detroit this weekend. So, thinking about shuffling and dancing. Dance is an integral part of the culture in Detroit and across Southeast Michigan. It's a form of expression that allows people to feel so much. In a new book titled Dance Your Way Home, A Journey Through the Dance Floor, Emma Warren travels through different dance spaces and focuses on people who have often been left out of the dance music history. Emma began this conversation with WDET's Ryan Patrick Hooper, discussing why dance is so important to humans.
Moving together to music is a joyful thing to do. It's a really normal and human thing to do, and it's good for us in many ways. I like the way that when you described the book at the beginning, you said, you described it as it's a book about the way the dance floor moves us. And I think that's the case. So I think probably everyone's had a little bit of that experience, even if it's when they're really young or at a wedding disco or something. But I feel like we need more of it in our lives.
When you say it helps us like each other more, you're making the case that it's a literal level playing field, that some of our differences aren't so obvious when the music is pulsating, when we can feel the bass in our bodies, and we're not necessarily talking about things, but we're just being human, we're moving. So talk to me a little bit about the power of that.
I mean, I ended up thinking that the dance floor is a technology of togetherness. And in a way that reminds me of some of the Detroit techno originators who just, the word techno comes from the word technology. And this is what I remember people saying at the time when we first started listening to Detroit techno in the late 80s and early 90s in the UK. And I think it is a technology of togetherness. And there is some good evidence to show that's the case. I found some lovely research about children, and it showed that when children move in synchrony with each other, swinging their arms or stepping side to side, they rate each other more highly afterwards. They like each other more. And there's a fair bit of evidence that shows that. And I think what is true for our young ones is also true for everybody else, that somehow moving together bonds us. It makes us feel warmer towards each other. And in that way, it can strip away some of the divides that society can place upon us. And that's certainly been true on some of the dance halls that I've been on. And I'm also very aware of it at the moment where I am. I'm calling from Northern Ireland. And I've been talking to lots of people about raves in Northern Ireland kind of back in the day. And lots of people have told me that the dance floor in this situation where things were so separated was also a technology of togetherness.
That's definitely a powerful thing. One idea in your book, again, rooting this in Detroit and the culture that we have here, because we certainly love talking about ourselves and our influence on the rest of the world here in Detroit.
And of course, what a place.
Techno makes the world go round, as one Ghostly International t-shirt once said. But talk to me about that music first arriving over in the UK, because that was a powerful thing and really influential in the dance clubs and the dance scene that was happening in your neck of the woods.
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in South London and kind of caught the wave of Chicago house as it arrived in the city, and then very quickly became aware that there was music percolating out of Detroit, which brought its own local flavour and some powerful bass lines. I mean, people like Kevin Saunderson and Juan Atkins and Derek May, of course, were really well known to us as much as we knew the people from Chicago. So we knew the two things. We knew they were separate, but we kind of heard them together. And we understood some of the interplay between the two cities, and we danced it out on the dance floors of London, and then later for me in Manchester. People of my generation who grew up on the dance floor, we felt this affiliation with the cities of Chicago and Detroit. We felt like in some ways we were dancing on the same dance floors, just a little separated from each other, but doing the same things on the same wooden floors or the same concrete warehouses. And that gave us a sense of kinship.
That was Emma Warren speaking about her book, Dance Your Way Home, with WDET's Ryan Patrick Cooper. And speaking of Ryan Patrick Cooper in the grooves, Ryan Patrick Cooper, he is here to join us to talk a little bit more about the conversation that he had with Emma Warren and the conversation about dance. Hey, Ryan.
What's going on, Tia?
How's it going?
I'm great. I already kicked off my movement week last night at Spotlight, seeing Ian Fink debut his band ianfink.cpt. That stands for Celestial People's Time. And it was an incredible set, man. This 11-piece band, you had Marcus Elliott, you had Shigeto, WDT's own Shigeto, you had Saleka Star, just sort of a who's who of Detroit musicians bringing this energy live, and you can start to feel it here as we get ready for Movement Weekend. I think people are flying in and they're staying longer. I think the footprint of the festival is becoming very South by Southwesty, where there are events everywhere. And the energy, to Emma Warren's point, there is something really kind of intangible yet tangible here in the city. You can feel it in your bones.
Yeah, so Ryan, you've had the unique opportunity to learn about the histories of different genres. You've talked about different, legends and different things like that. What did you learn from Emma that you didn't expect to learn?
That the idea of dance isn't something silly and stupid.
Did you have that idea? You thought about that?
Well, I just think sometimes we don't give it the credit it deserves. I think it really can be a piece of socio-political change. I think Emma Warren really convinced me of that. I think it can be this space for those that are marginalized to be able to have solidarity amongst each other and be in a safe space. I saw it last night at Spotlight. The diversity in that joint was incredible. And we have to be honest here in Detroit, we get siloed so often. You go to one bar, it feels like a white bar. You go to one bar, it feels like a black bar. There's not a lot of spaces where I think the whole city kind of ditches that segregation and gets along. But with dance music and dancing at Spotlight, the diversity there last night was incredible. It actually felt like the city, and that comes down to the music. And that comes down to the drinks they serve. I mean, you can signal to people that you're welcome here in a lot of different ways. And I think Emma Warren helped me understand that dance can really be that. I mean, in the beginning of this book, just to root it in Detroit, there's a Theo Parrish quote that Emma Warren used. And Theo Parrish said this. He said, "Escapism has always been an adjective used to describe the dance. That's an outsider's view. Solidarity is what it really offers." Yeah.
Dropping facts right
now. Take a
Ryan.
moment to breathe that in.
I know. And one of my questions to you was going to be about the deeper understanding that you've gotten from dance, but you've already told me. So were you at Spotlight last night dancing? Did you embrace it a little bit more?
I mean, I often say my body's built by bagel. Like I'm not I'm not physically able to move fluidly in a lot of ways. And the last time I really tore it up at the dance floor at Spotlight, my knees hurt for 2 days. So am I a wallflower? Maybe. Do I appreciate it? Of course. I support it. And it's really cool in the city to see so many more spaces coming online where people can get down and do this and really be connected to the legends that are here in the city. Movement's a beautiful example of that.
So speaking of legends, you've had quite a few legends on In the Groove this week already. You're going to have 2 more legends this week that we're really excited to hear from.
Yeah.
So one of them today, a legend in her own right. Please get into her.
Stacey Hot Wax Hale.
Yes.
This is the godmother of house, they call her. And it's with good reason, because Stacey was one of those DJs really early to the idea of being a DJ at all, and helped bridge the gap between those disco days of the late 70s going into the 80s and the techno-electronic house scene here. I mean, a living, breathing bridge. So she'll be in studio. She's going to do an hour set here live in our studio from 2 to 3. Which is incredible. Makes me very grateful for the day at the office here, watching Stacey Hot Wax Hale. We're going to pass the aux cord over to her and let her entertain the whole city. Earlier this week, we had DJ Minx, who gave me life. Talk about deep house. That was deeper than deep house. That was the foundation. We were in the well. We were deep, deep in it. We also had DJ Godfather, DJ Etta. Nice. And tomorrow, we're going to bring it home on In the Groove with Kevin Saunderson. Talk about a legend.
I mean, where else are you tuning in to hear these legends on the radio in the middle of the day at that?
That's what Detroit Public Radio should be. And we've heard from a lot of people with all of this movement programming that we've been doing. They're like, yeah, this is what I want public radio to be. This actually sounds like the city. So being able to bring these people in here and broadcast them out, it's a direct response to what people were asking us to do here at WDET. I mean, my entire career has just been plagued by people coming up to me being like, where'd the music go and why did you take it from me? So it was nice that we could finally bring this back. And I think this is exemplifying it, because this is a beautiful thing that we've made here in the city. Let's never forget, this is a black arts. This is a black city. If you think about the music that comes out of here, we would have nothing without the black church. And that is an extension to what has happened in electronic music too. So that needs to be amplified, and there needs to be a place for it here on Detroit Public Radio. And it's incredible to have it live and broadcast and connect people in the same way Emma Warren says dance connects us on the dance floor.
Technology of togetherness. That's what she said. I had to write that down because it was the most beautiful little quote I heard, the technology of togetherness, which is like techno with the dancing and coming together. So, speaking of dance, speaking of movement this weekend, what's one of the best parts for you, before I let you go, what's one of the best parts for you being able to play the music that you've been able to play from local artists, from local legends, but just from all across the city of Detroit? What's been the best part for you?
It's the best part is that it's from my heart. This is like stuff that I personally really love. There's no middleman here. There's no one coming through with a playlist saying you got to play this. This is stuff that I personally love. This is a very direct reflection of what is happening in the city right now. I think that's the idea of like blowing away those borders, blowing away those gatekeepers, and just giving people like a hard hit of what this city actually sounds like. For example, Peter Croce of Rocksteady Disco, this is a great local record label. He just got this vinyl right off the press. He was driving around town. I said, bring it up to the studio. And within 10 minutes, we were playing this record that was still warm. It had just been pressed. It was music that had not been released into the world. And that was like a crazy idea. Peter was like, I didn't even know that still happened in radio, where a DJ could drive up with a record and you could get it. You know, it was like 1950s, like in a movie. We're like, have you heard this new hot hit? It's coming in. The kids are going crazy for it.
It's a finger wagger.
Hey, Johnny, you know that new sound you've been looking for? That's basically what we did yesterday. So, you know, like we really want to reflect what this city is, and also, you know, get rid of all the roadblocks that stops people from getting into it and understanding it. We don't want to be gatekeepers. We want to let people in. We want to connect. We want to be the aux cord to the city here on WDET.
I love that so much. I cannot wait to continue to hear everything that Ryan's bringing us this week from In the Groove. Ryan Patrick Cooper, the host of In the Groove, thank you so much for chatting with us and spreading the love of techno.
Tia Graham, you're a legend. Thank you so much.
It's the Metro on 1019 WDET. That was Tia Graham. I am Nick Austin as we hang out with you here. And speaking of hanging out and all of the things happening during Movement Weekend, we've got other things happening. Closing out Movement on Monday, May 27, will be the House Your Life party, the last official Movement after party of the season. This year's party features special guest Honey Dijon and performers DJ Holographic, DJ Minx, who you heard on In the Groove earlier this week, DJ Tennis, Heidi Lawton, Kevin Saunderson, Marsha Marr, Serena Tyler. The party starts at 10 p.m. and is 21 plus as well. Tickets for that event, $65, so you can check that out, get in there and enjoy House Your Life to close out the weekend. I like that name. I'll tell you that much as well. All of us need a little bit of house in our lives. All of us need more of the Metro in our lives, and you are going to get more of the Metro as we continue here. Like I said, Tia Graham alongside myself, Nick Austin, and coming up, we're going to get into a little bit about why the UWA lost its bid to form a union in Alabama. Keep it locked right here as we return.
This is the Metro on 1019 WDET FM. I'm Tia Graham.
And I am Nick Austin. And late last week, United Auto Workers lost in their attempt to organize in the South. Workers at the Mercedes plant in Alabama rejected a union by about 600 votes. Prior to this moment, the UAW had a few wins, negotiating historic contracts in Detroit and organizing a union at a Volkswagen plant in Tennessee. So what went wrong? Sharon Block is the executive director for the Center for Labor and a Just Economy at Harvard Law School. In this conversation, she spoke with WDET's Russ McNamara about why things didn't work out for the UAW.
At the Volkswagen plant in Tennessee, VW mostly stayed out of it. That was not the case at Mercedes, where the automaker, backed by conservative state politicians, kind of went all out to oppose the union. Do you see that as the key reason for this setback for the union?
I think we absolutely have to look at that as a significant factor. I mean, there is so much about these two campaigns that were similar. They're obviously both German companies. They're both in sort of the heart of the South. The makeup of the workforce was fairly similar. So what is the big distinction? It's what you said. It was the response by the company to this organizing drive and the level of intensity of Mercedes' anti-union campaign, to my mind, has to be looked at as a significant factor in the really significant different outcome here. I mean, let's remember at Volkswagen, it wasn't just that the union won. The union won overwhelmingly. And my understanding of how the UAW has designed these campaigns is that they don't ask for an election in a plant until they have demonstrations of support from 60-70% of the workers. And so I believe that was true both, before asking for an election at Volkswagen and at Mercedes. So then what changed from that time, from that significant support? At Volkswagen, that support stayed pretty much the same, grew a little bit. At Mercedes, then you saw that support really drop off. And the experience for workers inside those plants was very different because of Mercedes' decision to really fight this campaign. And, it's too soon to say, but there are obviously here allegations that Mercedes crossed the line from just a strong arm kind of anti-union campaign to an unlawful anti-union campaign. And it will be up to the UAW to decide whether to pursue those unfair labor practice charges at the National Labor Relations Board, and then for the board to decide whether there's merit to them or not. But that's a significant factor.
Yeah, it was reported that German officials were investigating Mercedes in its native country over its union busting. In Germany, the laws there are tougher. And the Alabama plants are the automakers' only ones that aren't organized worldwide. However, in this country, from what you've seen, what could have Mercedes done to cross that line and run afoul of the National Labor Relations Board and, national labor law?
Some of the allegations are that they retaliated against workers who supported the union by firing them. That's clearly, even in the United States, with as weak as our labor law is, that's against the law. But I think this brings up this question about the German government also looking into conduct in the Alabama plant. To me, brings up a really interesting question, which is why do Republican politicians like the governor of Alabama think that it's okay, and not just okay, but they actually encourage companies from outside the United States to come to our country and then treat American workers like second-class citizens, whether it's unlawful or not? The way that Mercedes conducted its anti-union campaign, they could not do that in Germany. They could not treat German workers with the kind of disrespect that they treated American workers in that Alabama plant. And so it's just astounding to me in watching how this has unfolded that there are American politicians who applaud that kind of treatment of American workers.
Sharon Block is the executive director for the Center for Labor and a Just Economy at Harvard Law School. She spoke with WDET's Russ McNamara. It's the Metro on 101.9 WDET. Nick Austin with you alongside Tia Graham. Before we get out of here, Tia, Michigan voters can comment on new Senate district maps starting next week. So I just want to make sure folks know that, because those lines are very important for your representation. You got a comment, seek it out. Make sure you get your voice heard.
Boom. That's the Metro. For Thursday, May 23rd, you can listen to recent episodes online at WDET.org and make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
The show is produced by Sam Corey, David Lyons, and Jack Philbrandt. Our engineer is Nate Bender. Our assistant producers are Anel Scott and Sydney Walkley.
The Metro is a production of WDET, a listener-supported service of Wayne State University. If you like what you hear and you want to support the Metro, consider becoming a member at WDET.org/donate.
This is WDET FM, Detroit Public Radio, your connection to news, music, and conversation. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
WDET is supported by the College of Business Administration at University of Detroit Mercy. UDM is offering a new master's degree in ethical leadership focused on sustainable, ethical, and inclusive problem solving. More information at business.udmercy.edu.